All right. So today, Justin and I thought we would just share a little bit about the numeracy and literacy assessments that are new for grade 1 this year. Give you a feel for what it looks like in order to implement them. We also created a recording yesterday that we'll share it with the groups that might be a little bit more detailed in there. But then we wanted to give you a chance to ask questions. So we know it's new and it might be a little bit tricky. Easier if you just kind of see it for yourselves and ask questions right away. So as we go through, feel free just to, we'll let Justin explain his part, and then you can, if you can save your questions for the end, that'll probably go a little bit smoother. Sure. And then same for mine. I'll do my part, and then you can ask numeracy questions afterwards. So Justin, I will pass it over to you.
So for those of you who haven't met me yet, my name is Justin Bronson, the newest team member of Learning Services here, and my role is literacy. And I'm just going to close that. And of course, we are doing a literacy assessment from Elk Island that is replacing the Lens and the Castle. It should be a lot faster, and it's pretty slick. I really appreciate the way it's formatted, so we'll just get right into it. So you all digitally have access to the how-to guide. Now I'm going to go through the steps of the how-to guide with you guys today. And again, it's on the video. The video I actually put on how-to guide as well, so it's there too. The first thing, and it's going to be the same for grades 1, 2, and 3. So if you're here today, my spiel is going to be the same as it's going to be tomorrow. Each teacher will need to print a student packet at 90% size to make sure everything fits properly. So the packet has a couple pages to it, double-sided, whatnot. It goes through different sections of this assessment. Now we suggest reading through it so you know what you're saying. It's very simple and similar to Haggerty if you've been following that, so it should be very nice and slick for you that way. Now, in addition to the student sheet that you will need per each student, you will either need to print out the slideshow that you need. It's quite lengthy. This is the grade 1 slideshow, or you could have it digitally on your device, and you would, I'm just going to swivel me, have it on your device for the child like so, and then you would go through it with the student this way, right? Yeah, if that makes sense. I'm just going backwards now. Now, for each of them, grades 1, 2, and 3, there is a section that is auditory only. So you won't be using the slideshow. You just put it to the side for that time and then bring it back when you are ready for it. At the bottom of each square, or each section, there's a place to total it. And at the very back of the assessment packet, there's a place to assess here for your numbers. And then of course, these numbers go into a Google form that is accessible from the how-to at the bottom of step 4. Laura has a question. Hello, Laura.
Hey, Justin, do you want me to save questions till after or as we go?
I was pretty much done my spiel, so
okay.
You can ask your question.
Yeah, I was just curious about with your slideshow, one of the A's, like the font is not maybe something that some kids have seen in print before, the little ampersand looking one. Are we able to write it like correctly for them as we teach it, or do they want them to be able to recognize that font?
I'll go through and I'll edit it for that to make sure that it's something that they see. One thing I did notice when we were getting all of these different slideshows is that there were some inconsistencies and I probably just missed it. So go back.
I just wanted to, I didn't know if that had to be that one or if we could just, Sharpie over that puppy.
You could if you wanted, but I'll go back and fix it. Are there any other questions for the literacy assessment? All right, I realize it's a very quick and dirty process, but it is pretty slick. And even at the very top of the instructions, it says to give the students 3 to 4 seconds to answer, and if they can't, move on to the next bit or the next like letter or sound or word. And so it's pretty. I like it. Laura.
Yeah, one more question. Maybe it's already sent out, but when does it due for the literacy piece? What date does it have to be submitted?
So it needs to be administered and submitted by September 27th.
And are teachers to be doing it, or can we have EAs to help with that, or are there specific guidelines to that, as was with the Lens or the Castle?
That is a really good question. Me personally, as a classroom teacher, I would be inclined to do it with my student just so that I have all of my bearings with my children. So that's what my suggestion would be.
Okay. I was just wondering, because with the other assessment, they had provided support so that you could pull out and be with your kids and do the one-on-one assessment. So I didn't know if that was built in division for funding for subs, or if they're just wanting us to try and find the time to do it, or what?
Yeah, it's not built in. You would need to find the time, but then the benefit to this, or one of the benefits, is it should be a lot faster than doing both the Lens and the CC3.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, then just information that we typically get anyway for our kids. Okay.
Yeah. And that's a lot of it, what it is, right? So like even looking at it, numbers 1 and 2 are things you would do anyway as a classroom teacher, right?
Okay. Cool. I just haven't had a chance to look at it. Has it already been sent out, the link for it to look at it?
Yeah, the live link is out on a one-pager that all principals have access to, and then some principals have given their staff access to the one-pager.
I will get on that. Give me the page. Cool. Thanks.
Barbie?
Hi, I was just wondering if you had any idea ballpark-wise how long per student it takes, or is this
not specifically? I'm guessing just by looking at it, maybe 10 to 15 minutes. It shouldn't be too bad.
And one thing you had mentioned to me, Justin, was the less kids know, the faster it goes.
Would you take that as a plus or a negative?
Yeah.
Okay.
Put your own spin on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Jean? Or is it Jeannie?
Hi, this is Beacon Hill. This is Jody Dennis,
Hey, Jody.
and we have all our grade 1 teachers here. And we're on Jeannie's Chromebook right now. But we just wanted to say, I just wanted to let you know, the one question about teachers versus EAs, it's really important that the teacher does the assessment. So I just wanted to clarify that, just because the teachers are the ones that get the time to be able to do it. So I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Jody. All right, I think it's time that we turn it over to the Sandy Show for some math assessment.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Justin.
You're welcome.
So the numeracy assessment for grade 1, when I tested it, I went out to Kelowna, I think it was, and I tested it in a school with grade 1 students at the end of the year. It took 5 minutes to do it. Now, obviously, it'd be a little bit longer at the beginning of the school year because it's newer to them. But in reality, it shouldn't take too long. It goes pretty quick. Now, the way the grade 1 numeracy assessment was designed, that there's an interview portion, and then there's some multiple choice numerical response. But I did it all as an interview, one-on-one with kiddos, and that was about the 5 minutes. It didn't take very long. You could, if you wanted to, do the portion of it as a class, but I think it would you'd probably lose the amount of time implementing that in order to do that. Pat, I'll address that question right now before I forget it. They're not given the time in the same sense, like division office isn't providing sub-release time for that, but it's more, I wonder if she meant more that it's part of the role of the teacher to do the assessment of students. And Jody, you can correct me if you'd like to clarify that. Okay. Brianne, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, how come we're not given that time when we've been given it in the past? Like, 15 minutes, in my opinion, doesn't seem like it's going to be enough just based on this. And if you do 15 minutes, you can get like 4 students in an hour, and I have 24 students. So I don't get enough perhaps. I'm not quite sure where I'm supposed to fit this in if we're not doing release time.
And it's a tough question. One of the things was when we did this, originally the government gave us funding that we could then put into classrooms in order to provide release time. And we're not getting that same, as far as I know, we're not getting that same funding this year. So then we don't have the resources in order to support that in the classroom, which is hard because it's a government required, we're required by the government to assess, but if they're not providing the resources to do that, I understand how hard it is on teachers to find that time. So talk to your principal about what that might look like. Because I know some schools did some really interesting things last year in order to make that work, but definitely talk to your principal first.
Yeah, and just to jump back in, some like parts of the literacy assessment and the math assessment are really great because they can show you where you can start working on with your class. So instead of seeing it as like I have to do this, I think of it at more like, even after I've gone through it now, more of an opportunity to see where your deficits are in your class, because you'll see it right away.
But yes, time is always an issue, especially in September with such little kiddos, when you're still working on routines and things like that. So we do appreciate how challenging it's going to be this year.
Yeah, and also don't be alarmed because this assessment gets done in September and then again for the end of the year. So in September, if your child or your students are getting very low marks, well, it's probably indicative of them just getting into grade 1. They haven't done a whole bunch of learning yet. So the journey of progress will really be seen when you do it the second time.
Great question, Claire. Will the grade 1 to 3 teachers still be expected to complete the MIPI? I made a promise last year. I said we are only doing one assessment, and I would do whatever I had to make that work, which is why we are using Elk Island's assessments for grades 1 to 4, because it is based on new curriculum. This is all you are doing. There is no other requirement or expectation of assessment around math at the beginning of the school year. So Elk Island is the new MIPI, if you want to think of it that way.
All right.
Okay, so the way this one works, I sent out one book for every regular size school and then 2 books for every large school so that you can share these, but you can print out more copies of these. If you go into the step-by-step guide and the step 1 where it says print, print the documents, print the assessments, you go into there, you'll see a full 2023, 2024 folder. In there, it'll be grade 1 folder, and there's a bunch of stuff in there. One of them is this, which is called the Tent Assessment. So you can print more copies of this if you want to. So then what I did was I set it up. I usually use a little binder to help prop this up. When you open it, you'll see this says teacher side 1. So you actually flip that to you, and then you'll flip a couple pages. And then this is what the kids will see. So they'll have to identify how many dots there are. And then on the other side, it tells you what the kids see, and then it tells you what to do. So it says, ask this or say that. And then at the bottom, achieved and what they should have said. So you've got that. You can just flip through it. It goes really fast. There's the number 6. And it'll give you instructions. Don't say the number 6, but just ask them to place a pile of counters in front of kids. Sometimes it'll say the student page is blank because there's nothing on it, and so on. So then it's very easy to work through it. And I printed in color because some of these things are a little bit harder to distinguish if it was in black and white, but other ones are just fine. This one would be a little bit more challenging to see if it was in black and white, but it's not that big of a deal. And you can see this is a multiple choice one that you could have the kids do as a class if you wanted to. And I'll show you what you can use for that, but very, very simple. Like I said, at the end of the year, it was about 5 minutes. Keeping in mind that These are kindergarten outcomes. So your kiddos, if they were successful in kindergarten, should be able to answer all of these questions based on that. This is what I made. This is the grade 2 copy of it, but I have another document that says student booklet when you look in there. And in that, when you print it, you will have 2 of these per page, and then it would just print out, and then you could cut it in half, staple it, and then the kids could follow along. I made a slideshow so that every question is on its own slide for the multiple choice numerical response part. So you could use that slideshow and then the little student booklet in order to do it. Anissa, did you have a question about those?
Yeah, I was just wondering, are these available in French? Like, is the
Yes, actually,
oh, I saw it was
of course they are. Yeah.
and then the French one, same thing, like probably the same questions as we had before. Is the expectation that they answer, like from the math, not the French one, sorry, the math one, are they expected to answer it in French, or if they answer it in English, is it correct? Or
That's a great question. I've not actually talked to MA about that. Now, we do, my belief would be if they try to get them to answer it in French, and then if they answer it in English, good to go. But make yourself a note that they answered in English, just so you've got that reference point. I'm thinking give as much credit as we can. Now, we run into a problem, like, I can't remember which school it is, doesn't have kindergarten in French. And we were looking at not assessing those kiddos in September, just to keep it true. Or, right, like we wouldn't report on those kiddos to Elk Island. So that would be that exception for that one school. But I sent the French versions, I put them in the van run today, so they'll start going out tomorrow. So you'll just, when you go to the printable assessments, you just make sure to grab the French folder, and it will have all of this stuff, but in French. Now, some of the instructions for the teacher will be in English, just to save time in getting it out, but everything that a student sees will be in French. Now, the other piece that I made, again, this is the grade 2 version. I just didn't print the grade 1, but I made a copy of all the questions and how they might answer. So if it's numerical, if it's the interview part, they either achieved or not achieved, so you can circle A or NA. If it's a multiple choice question, the 4 answers are there, or 3 or 2, and you can just circle it. And if it's numerical response, it's blank, so you can fill that in. So you can fill this in per kiddo. It's really quick to do. That's what I did when I was assessing the kiddos for practice in June last year. Or you can have the form out and just fill it in right then, because as soon as you've got that form filled in for that kiddo's done. Whereas if you're filling this out, then you'll have to go back and then fill in the form. So either way is fine, just keeping in mind you're not done until the form is submitted for that kid. Alyssa.
Hi, yes, I was just wondering, is the Google form per student, or the Google form we're filling out, is it per class?
It's per student. It's
Same with
for,
ours.
and same with the literacy one. So it'll submit the kid, what you'll do is you'll type the kid's name in, pick your school, pick a class code. So in regards to the class code for the numeracy one, if you're the only grade 1 teacher, pick A. But if there's multiple grade 1 teachers in your school, one of you will pick A, one of you will pick B, one of you will pick C, so that your results can be filtered for your class. I don't care what your class code is, as long as you guys agree on what you want to pick. But yeah, you have to put it in per student, so that it'll go, Johnny answered da, here's how Johnny did. You will get an analysis document like the grade 2s and up have received as part of the MIPI. I just haven't had time to create it yet, but it will analyze it for you. It'll give you lots of information around how they did. And then once we receive the cut score from Elk Island, then I'll plop that in and it will tell you which kids have achieved and not achieved. But I'll walk you guys through those analysis documents after September is done, so that you can actually dig into your data and see what that looks like. Tanya.
Hi, Sandy. I just have a question. I have 3 ESL with limited to no English, and I'm just wondering, along with developmental disabilities and developmental differences, like, are we supposed to just give it a whirl, or are there considerations being given?
It never hurts to give it a whirl, because you might find some valuable information out of it, but talk with your admin to see if it's an assessment that's going to be harmful to a child, then there's that aspect of it. But you might want to attempt it with them, but maybe after talking with your admin, you won't submit the results.
Okay.
Diane. You're muted, Diane. I'm not sure if you realize that. Sorry, you're still muted, Diane.
Sorry,
That's okay.
it's Jamie.
Oh.
Just a question about the recording sheet. It doesn't have 15 on it.
Oh, no. Okay, I'll go fix that.
Oh.
Sorry, I was trying to make sure it all fit into one thing and it must have got cut off. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the grade 1 recording sheet. Fix that. Okay, I will do that first thing in the morning and
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So we're gonna hit the mic.
what other questions might you have around this? Oh, the other thing is when you take a look at the teacher side, if you're looking at the online version, it has a link to the Google form, it has a link to the recording sheet, but it will also remind you of the manipulatives you need. So for question 6, you need 10 counters. I used those square tiles I gave all the teachers last year. Then for question 7, 10 counters of a different type. And the reason for that is to get their brain out of thinking it's related to question 6. I used 10 bears. And then question 8 is 15 counters of a different type, and I use the Unifix cubes for that. And I just threw each of them into containers so that I could just dump them on the table, make it really quick, and then soup them up. So a large bowl or a box or a bag, anything that makes it easy for you to dump them out and then recollect them right after the assessment. So you'll want 3 different kinds of manipulatives. And like I said, it doesn't matter what they are. Go ahead, Linda.
Hi, Sandy. I just wanted to clarify the teacher's sheet that you've just shown on the screen. Did you say that those had been sent out to schools, or do we need to print those out?
Yeah, no, I printed off 1 of these or 2, depending on the size. Can I just get you to mute, Linda? Because your speaker's catching the audio. Perfect, thank you. So these went into the van run, but depending on when your van run cycle comes, right? So you should have them by Tuesday for sure. If your school wants to print out extra copies, you're more than welcome to. I did not have enough time to print out 1 for every single teacher this year. And then the idea will be next year, if there's new questions, then I can print out the pages and then send them to you, and then you guys can fix the book as needed. But for now, it's 1 or 2 copies per school of the grade 1 and the grade 2, and then same thing with the French versions. Any other questions? Okay, well, my plan is when I get a chance, I'll make a unique step-by-step guide for just the grade 1 teachers. But really it's, you've got this, grab your manipulatives, make sure you print this if you're gonna use that, or just open up the Google form in a Chromebook. It's gonna go lickety-split. And don't panic too much about it, just assume good intentions. If a kid changes their mind on an answer, use their most recent answer, and I think it'll go good. But I want your feedback. Let us know how it goes, what we can do to make this run more smoothly in June when we have to reassess kiddos as well, because I want to make this as easy to implement as we possibly can. But the nice thing is, once you've done the form, you don't have to do anything else. For both of these assessments. You don't have to go onto the SLA dashboard. You are done. So that is the other nice thing about this. Okay, if there aren't any other questions, if you think of some later, feel free to reach out to either Justin or myself. We will send out the recording of this video so that you can check out those answers. Maybe if we've got some time, we'll throw the questions into an FAQ document so that the teachers who couldn't make it here as well can have access to those as well. Great question. So in the Learning Services one-pager, we put the 27th for literacy, and I think the 21st for numeracy. And the intent for that one was originally because we wanted schools to be able to analyze the data at the first collab day for grade 1s and 2s alongside of everybody else. But I kind of extended it to the 27th as well, to give you guys that extra week. And then that way, when you analyze the data, you'll also have your cut scores back. But you have to have those forms in for both of these by the 27th, because we have to get the data in to Elk Island right after that. So we need it needs to be filled in by the 27th.
Yeah, no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully you found that helpful and we answered all of your questions. Reach out if you have more later, and have fun this year. Look forward to seeing you again later.
Bye, everyone.
Hey guys, I just have one question about tomorrow. Should our grade 3